Welcome to the Good Place Marionville podcast, dedicated to highlighting the good happening right here in Marionville, Missouri. Each episode, we will share stories and events that feature why Marionville is a great place to live and to work.
Our team will bring you updates from various perspectives, including reports from local journalists, everyday citizens, city officials, school representatives, businesses, and nonprofits.
In today's episode, we're going to showcase the goodness of Marionville, uniting our community through shared stories of hope and optimism. While mainstream news often focuses on the negative, our town's potential and rich history deserve to be celebrated and shared.
So hang out with us for a little while as we cover some of the great that is happening this week. Actually, the good, because it's Good Place Marionville. Last week, we covered a ton of items, so everyone could get up to date. You want to go back and watch that? I encourage you to do so. Jim, we got some city updates we want to hit today.
Some city updates. On Tuesday, April the 2nd, there was a city election. You should have seen the mobs at First Baptist Church in Marionville. First Baptist Church in Marionville. Mobs, people lined up for miles voting. Well, maybe there weren't mile-long people, but there were people in there voting, and we have some elections. The results are going to be released this afternoon on April the 5th. But we know there were several people running uncontested, and one of them is going to join us a little later on here in the podcast.
Today is the second day of the citywide cleanup, and it's been very busy out there. I was really pleasantly surprised by how many people were taking advantage of this. And, we heard that it doesn't actually cost the city extra money. Like, this is part of our garbage service. So take advantage of it. If you watch this and there's still time, they're going to be collecting till 3:00 today. So hopefully a few of you will get reminded.
There's piles of garbage out there, right out there. Piles of garbage. Hey, next upcoming Board of Aldermen meeting, City Council meeting, whatever you want to call it. They are aldermen, so it's a Board of Aldermen meeting, but it's really our City Council meeting, is on April the 11th, starts at 6:30 p.m. over here in the Fire Hall right on Central. So make sure you come out, check out what's going on, get involved in your city. There's a lot of great conversations happening there.
Jim, in our last episode, which was also our first episode, I mentioned that I was wondering, if the minutes were out there on the website for people to get caught up, and they are. So I just want to encourage people, if they wonder, they can go to the City Hall website, MarionvilleMO.com.
Are you sure about that? I said it kind of hesitantly.
Pretty sure.
Just type in City Marionville, Missouri.
That's what I always do, but it comes up to the same Google. Place.
All right, Martha, you uncovered something big, and we heard about it at the City Council, the Board of Aldermen meeting. Yes. What's going on at the cemetery?
Well, the cemetery, which is officially Marionville IOOF Cemetery.
And for those of you who don't know what the IOOF stands for, International Order of Odd Fellows. It's an old organization that was founded in the United States of America by Ulysses S. Grant.
So at the last Board of Aldermen meeting, the funds were approved to do some rehab on what they call the old part of the cemetery. And they've been out there now, it's for the last couple of weeks, working on repairing and resetting and cleaning stones of what are the actual pioneers and settlers of our community. And that's why it's so incredibly important. So they're striving to rehabilitate about 75 stones. And they did have some weather that kind of hindered their progress. But my update from them last night was that they said that there were many broken, fallen headstones that were cleaned and epoxied and are now upright. And they're going to continue to unearth the lost stones that are there. And there is still so much work that is left to be done. But I will tell you, follow them on Facebook, because there's pictures. You would not believe how much dirt has moved over the years. And Jim, they're digging deep and finding stones. And it's really neat that they're doing this work, and they've made some great progress. Good job. Okay, so school news. I'm not sure if everyone listening will think it's good news or not, but there are officially 25, maybe 24 days left of school for the year. Oh my goodness, it is coming quickly. And it's like a month to graduation. So, but there's some other great news in school.
The Marionville, in 2023, our Marionville football team, the Comet football team, they won the state championship. They just got their rings yesterday. How exciting was that? And there was a lot of people in the community that helped some of the kids get their rings so that everybody could get one on the team. And that was fantastic.
What a great keepsake for life to have a football ring as state champions. And then we got this also
almost as big as a Super Bowl ring. So you take 2 hands,
probably full of diamonds and things like that too, right?
Especially
If anybody has pictures, let's post them out there.
Right.
I'd love to see what they look like and share. Good news, Dalton Russell signed with Evangel to play football this next year. So that's great local news, and good job, Dalton.
Is he going to be on TV on that Evangel? Oh, that was a high school. That wasn't. They should have their own TV show at Evangel.
Maybe they will.
This past weekend was a little tough on some of our first responders. Actually, many of them who responded to that armed suspect over in Aurora. But we want to thank our first responders. There was a lot of them involved, and we feel like they went over and above to keep us safe, and we're grateful. We encourage you to check them out on Facebook, to follow them on their page. Aurora Marionville PD is their page on Facebook for thoughtful updates and information all the time. Chief Coatney, who we'll have on the show one day, is always out there letting us know what's going on, and we're grateful for their service. All the first responders, the police department, the fire department, the EMTs, the ambulance drivers, they all work so hard.
Yes, thank you. So in business news, I want to highlight again Marionville Business Connect. Our next meeting is April 9th, and I invite each and every one of you that is a manager or an owner of a local business here to gather and spend time getting to know each other and how we can work better together. And this month is sponsored by Care to Learn. And yes, that means there will be treats. So come join us. We would love to have you here from 4 to 5 on April 9th at Central Place at the corner of Central and Washington.
If you're doing business in Marionville, come to Central Place, 4 o'clock on April the 9th, and we will have a great time together. Big shout out to the Bank of Billings, member FDIC, equal housing lender, for being a sponsor of the Good Place Marionville podcast. We're so grateful to the staff at Bank of Billings. They're there to handle all your banking needs. Home loans, small business loans, your regular banking. They got savings accounts. They got regular checking. They got it all. Stop in today at the Bank of Billings and say hi. Bank of Billings, thanks for being a part of the Good Place Marionville podcast. Random news, Martha. You love this. We were part of this last year.
We were nominated for the Curb Appeal contest, and it is coming back again this year to Marionville. I saw that news on Facebook, and I just was thinking now is a great time to start cleaning up your yard and prepping it for the long season of beauty ahead. And all of that information is on the Marionville Pride Facebook page because they are proud of our town.
And a reminder, Applefest is around the corner. Yes, it's 5 months away, but you need to get ready now. Applefest is September 20th and 21st. Sign up for a booth, ads in the booklet, or to hang a banner on the gazebo. Get signed up now. It's not too late to get involved. The next meeting for volunteers is April the 15th at the Nazarene Church. And that's over on that Necessity Street. And you know why that street's named Necessity?
Why, Jim? How'd you learn this?
I learned this from John Kahn from the Church of Nazarene. The street's called Necessity because it was a necessity to have a road there to get the people to church.
I love that. So in our nonprofit highlights, as we're speaking of churches, I just want to shout out to the Ministerial Alliance. We went to the Good Friday service at the Methodist Church last week, and it was just great. There were great speakers and music, and it was a real sense of community. So shout out to the Marionville Ministerial Alliance.
And the next community church service will be the night before Applefest, the Thursday night before Applefest kicks off. And we did last year downtown, all around the gazebo, and it was a fantastic time.
Yes.
Want to do a highlight of a local nonprofit, Marionville Clothing Distribution Center with Bruce Schatzer. He does an incredible job in the old Mason Lodge down on Central. If you need clothing and household accessories from young kids to adults, Bruce has them organized by size, by season, and everything there is free. Bruce has a heart to just give away everything that's been given to him, but he organizes it, makes it easy to find. The Marionville Clothing Distribution Center. There's not a phone number, and you can't call Bruce, but you can go there and drop stuff off 7 days a week. You can drop stuff off, and a few days a week, Bruce is there to let you in to be able to get anything that you need.
And if you're just wanting to get in contact with somebody, you can email us at ourgoodplacemarionville@hotmail.com, and we can make sure you get your questions answered. But not only people listening, if you know someone that has a need, this is a great resource for you, but it's also a place that you can supply things for people's needs, Jim.
That's right.
So keep it local. If you have stuff that you are ready to be done with and let somebody else use.
Not junk. We're talking clothing that can still be used and other household items. Just bring it over to the Marionville Clothing Distribution Center and it will get put to good use.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't get given away within a certain period of time, Bruce then gives it to Convoy of Hope. Martha, coming up in the next segment of the show, we're going to bring in Marionville Mayor Dale Blankenship. Hang on for that. In a special segment today, we welcome Marionville Mayor Dale Blankenship to the studio. Dale, thanks for being willing to join us on the studio today on the Good Place Marionville podcast. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you, Jim.
Dale, how long have you been mayor?
Right at the 4-year mark now.
4 years?
Yeah, I came in right at the beginning of COVID. It was actually the changeover was delayed about 2 months because of COVID.
So, but you served on the Board of Aldermen before that, correct?
I did this term. I did about a year before, and kind of became mayor a year into a Board of Aldermen term. And then I served back in, I think it was 2011 through 2013.
So did you grow up in Marionville? Have you always lived in Marionville or when did you move here?
I actually moved here in August of 2008. I was a military kid. My family had I've got quite a bit of family in the area, but this is where we came for vacation in the summer.
You came to Marionville for vacation.
Yes.
Was that because of the incredible springs, the parks, or because it was family?
Family.
Got it. Okay. All right. So do you have family?
Yeah, actually, I've got a wife, Patricia, Trish, of 15 years now, and then
you hesitated there. Don't ever do that. We're recording this,
and then I've got a daughter who's 16 years old. So you got to get the numbers backwards for me.
But that's the way people do things today.
Yeah.
All right. So what has been your favorite part of being mayor in Marionville?
The people are entertaining. They really are.
Do you want to expand on that at all? Or?
I probably shouldn't.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So far, and I understand people are people, and it's great. We really have a great community. There really is a great community here.
Yeah, there really is.
And obviously, sometimes people get passionate about certain things. I was at the last, Board of Aldermen meeting. People get passionate about things, but what has been your favorite project that you've undertaken in the last 4 years as mayor? And if you got more than one, that's fine.
Well, there's been a lot of little things. The biggest thing, the thing that I'm most pleased with is really helping our fire department get updated. Not the building itself, but the equipment. When I came back on the board this time and became mayor, I realized that the bunker gear the fire department had was the same bunker gear that was expired when I got on the Board of Aldermen the first time 10 years prior. So we've gone through and we've gotten new bunker gear that's not expired. We've got and Chris Bowling obviously is our fire chief, and he's done a phenomenal job with this. He's been the driving force behind it. But we can fill our own air tanks. We can do all these great things that we just couldn't do before, and we had to rely on other entities.
Right.
So that's kind of one of my biggest things. And then the other thing is, obviously we've spent an immense amount of money on getting our sewer plant back up to where it should be.
Curious about that, because a lot of people don't think about sewers. They just know that when they flush their toilet, it goes down. Well, why was the sewer plant such a big deal? Because it is a big deal to have our own sewer plant.
Well, exactly. It's first off, it's one of the only services the city actually owns. Our water is run by Empire, Liberty. Our electric's run by Liberty. Missouri Gas Energy for the fire for the gas.
So we're controlled by everybody else, but we control our own sewage.
Right. And we had relied on contractors in the past to maintain it for us and to operate it for us, because it takes a special license. It takes an operator's license, and it's not something you can just go to school for. It's something you have to apprentice for.
Right. Okay.
And again, with Chris Bowling, he really jumped in on that, and he wanted the license, and he's been working on that. But we've gotten that sewer plant to the point where the outflow on it was abysmal. It looked like rancid chocolate milk, and now it looks like clean water coming out of the plant. And more importantly, it tests as clean water coming out of the plant.
And where does that water go? I mean, after it's been treated at the sewer plant, because so you're saying all the sewer water from around the city goes up to the sewer plant, which is out, and it's north of town.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. North
I'm
and
still
west.
learning my directions.
Yeah.
It goes out, when it's clean, then where does it go?
So it goes through, first off, a massive process to clean it, and it's primarily bacterial is the way we clean it,
Sure.
and then the final process is a UV light to kill any remaining bacteria, but it actually outflows into Honey Creek.
Okay. Goes
So
into the creek
that's
because it's clean enough to go into the creek.
Yeah,
That's
it's
fantastic.
technically clean enough to drink. It's just not an appetizing thought.
I should say, yeah, technically the water that we're all drinking has been around a long time,
Right.
been recycled quite a few times. When you look at the city today,
Mhm.
you just got reelected mayor again. Well, I'm assuming with the results aren't out yet, but since you were running unopposed,
Mhm.
did you get reelected?
The unofficial count says I did. Yeah, there were 10 write-ins, and I think I got 74 votes, something like that. So huge turnout this time.
Well, I mean, it's just sad. We need to, and we'll do a better job the next time we got a fall election. It's a big election, but we're grateful for your service and for another 2 years. As you look forward to these next 2 years,
Mhm.
on your list of things you really want to get accomplished, what are some of those things you're like, I'm excited to help lead the way with the Board of Aldermen to get these things accomplished in the next couple of years?
Well, there's actually a few things. And one of them is actually going to take us back to the sewer plant. When we get a big rain down there, we cannot access our sewer plant. We actually are working on a grant right now with the state and through the city engineers to get a very large bridge, box culvert built down there to cross that creek. So we'll actually be able to access that and our pound when it rains. People don't think about that, but we can't get there when it rains.
So you can't buy like one of those Wisconsin Mighty Ducks to get across the water?
OSHA did not like that.
Why? They ride those boats on. They got some down in Branson. I saw them the other night when I was down there. All right. So literally the water gets so high, the creek that runs, they can't cross.
We can have 2 or 3 days sometimes where we can't get to our sewer plant, and we have to get down there daily.
And you have to get the state involved because you're involving environmental stuff and
Yes.
you're rerouting water for environmental stuff. But you just literally want to run the creek just through a box culvert under a road.
Yeah.
All
Yeah. We're not relocating it or anything.
Wow.
And then, the other things, obviously, I actually had a conference call yesterday morning with the city attorneys about it, and something, you've been very passionate about is the economic development project. We have that, and we've got it working in conjunction with our city's comprehensive plan.
Okay.
And it's very rare to have your comprehensive plan come up to be updated at the same time as an economic development project like this. So it's actually a huge opportunity to make them work very hand in hand.
Well, and let's talk about the economic development. I wasn't going to bring it up today, but I love it. I mean, what is it when we talked about, I've been pounding you about this because Marionville, I see nothing but potential in Marionville. When we talk about setting up an economic development commission or committee, whatever it's called, how do you see that blessing the community of Marionville?
Well, I mean, for one thing, the ultimate goal is to bring more business to town,
Right.
provide jobs here in town. Most citizens that do not work here in Marionville. They do not even work in Aurora. Most commute to Monette or Springfield or one of the surrounding
Joplin,
or Joplin. Yeah, one of the surrounding communities. They can have a 45-minute to an hour commute every morning. We have jobs here. I mean, that's more time at home. That's more time with their family, more time in our parks. And then, the other driver behind it is it does bring tax revenue ultimately. And that helps us with services like our fire department, like our police department, paving roads.
I was say, a
fixing
lot of times people
potholes.
get a negative feeling when they talk about taxes. I mean,
Right.
they think taxes are a negative thing, but taxes help us get new sidewalks or repair sidewalks. And we're going to talk about sidewalks in a second, but help us repair the roads, put striping on the roads. I keep thinking, how great would it be to have striping in downtown Marionville because people park every which way but loose. And, that was a great reference there to
Yep.
a great old movie. So the tax revenue is a huge thing, but really the whole idea is just to attract businesses here because we've got a great community of people who already know how to work, but give them a place to work right here in town.
Well, and ultimately, when we talk about taxes like that, when our costs as a city go up, our options are either to reduce services or increase taxes to cover those costs. The other option is the better option of not increasing taxes,
Right.
bringing more revenue to the city by increasing the amount of business in the city.
Right.
Taxes don't go up. In fact, a lot of times they'll go down because we've got another revenue stream there. that is allowing people who are spending money and people who don't even live in town are spending money in town now, which means the surrounding community is helping pay for these services.
That's the deal. That's the deal. All right, any other big projects you're excited about? We got a park project. Got a little heat about that park project at the last meeting, but this park project's exciting. Tell us about what's going on there.
So we've got a piece of property right next to the city cemetery that was donated by the previous owner before she passed away, to be a park for the city of Marionville. And it stalled for several years. And then here, a year or so ago, maybe a little more than that now, it came back up. People wanted to drive behind it. People wanted to get it moving. And so what we did is we applied for an economic development grant through the state and through federal for assistance on that, because the gist of it is you've got an immense cost there.
Just putting in sidewalks is an immense cost. I mean, cement.
Yeah. We're talking about a 10-foot wide sidewalk, so it's ADA. Both, they can pass each other, in an ADA fashion.
Or we could race. We could race all around it. Like race walk.
Yes, walk. Yeah,
race walk. Yeah, that's what I meant.
That's what you meant.
Yeah.
So, but that's something that the citizens want. People are excited about, and ultimately, it doesn't generate any kind of revenue. It's a cost to the city. We have to maintain it. We have to develop it. And where's that money come from? So when the state said, we've got this grant, we're all in on that. And the unfortunate part of that is it takes a while.
What are you saying? So when we apply for money from the state, they say you can have it. They just don't write you a check just immediately?
No. In fact, we went through probably a year-long development process just to get the paperwork submitted. And then once we got that done, then the waiting starts, because then it's got to go from the states looked at it to now it's got to go over to SimCog's got it. They're doing the environmental study on it, even though it's approved.
SimCog means what?
I can't even remember what the acronym stands for. It's an entity that exists up at MSU that is kind of an integration between small communities like ours, city governments, and the state itself. And it kind of helps smooth things out there and keep us from having to have somebody that does every little thing on the state level.
So, but bottom line, we got a grant. We got approved for a grant, right?
We got approved for the grant. And now we're just waiting for we cannot break ground on it until everything's done on the grant side. The grant's approved. It's just getting through those final steps now.
All right, a couple of other just exciting things, and I didn't put this on my list of things we would type about, but sidewalks. We got some sidewalks coming in on ZZ.
We do.
Tell us about that, because is it going to start all the way? Are we going to be able to walk to Casey's on sidewalks? Is it that far?
No.
Okay. All right.
I think it's going to take us right up to along ZZ, right up to 14. And at this point, I don't believe the state, the last plans I saw from the state did not reflect it running up to Casey's.
But it's going to run from 14 all the way to how far down ZZ?
The way the state plans show is the length of ZZ. I think it'll ultimately probably taper off somewhere after right around Missouri.
Okay.
But the plans showed it running the length of the city.
Now, on the last Good Place Marionville podcast, we mentioned your struggle with or your conflict with, opportunity to interact with Missouri's Department of Transportation about the elimination of railroad crossing, but then they were going to put the big box culvert on top of our sewer lines.
Yes.
How are you doing on that? Are we made any progress there yet?
We have actually. I've finally approved, and the city engineer agreed with a solution they've come up with. The original project showed that they were going to reroute the sewer line so that it crossed under the road and then crossed the creek. And what they were going to do is just build a road over the top of it with a bridge and have all that weight right on top of our sewer line. Obviously, we weren't happy with that.
Which you said serviced 50% of Marionville.
That's correct.
So if something happened, 50% of you couldn't use your toilets.
Well, or your sewage would be draining into the waterway, or we would be draining the waterway into our sewer plant, which ultimately is more capacity than the sewer plant can handle, and we have to treat all that water.
So are they going to eliminate that railroad crossing?
They are. Yeah.
Okay.
That's state level beyond us. So that's not something we really had much say in.
But and that new road's going to connect up to 14.
It is. It is.
All right.
So the progress that's been made is we've come up with a good solution for. We're going to replace that sewer line between the two manholes. It is still going to cross under that culvert, but it's going to do so in high density polyethylene double walled pipe, much larger than our sewer line. And our sewer line will actually be sleeved through the middle of it with a, again, higher density pipe.
Nice. So we're protecting our sewer lines.
Right.
All right. So I know as mayor, you work a lot of hours as mayor. It doesn't really pay really well. So don't think about running for mayor because you're going to get a big paycheck. You have a business that you run all day long. Talk to us about Westwind, because you guys actually, we're sitting here at Central Place, downtown Marionville, and you guys did the underground plumbing stuff for us, connected up to the old sewer lines that are out in the back street that have been there forever, water lines that were copper still.
Yep.
You run Westwind Services. Tell us about it.
You know, we're a fairly small company. There's 4 of us that work there, but it's plumbing, electric, heating, and air. And you know, we primarily do renovations and small service. You know, sewer lines clog, electric service needs updated, that kind of thing. Heating and air needs repaired or replaced. Emphasis on the repair because so many of these companies are commission driven and they're all about selling you a new unit. I mean, of course, I want to sell you a new system, but I'd rather repair it because let's face it, a couple $100 repair versus
nothing's
$6,000 to
cheap anymore.
$10,000.
Nothing's cheap anymore.
Yeah.
You can't like replace the air conditioner for $3,000 like you used to be able to do.
Oh,
no.
so
what do you? But you're a master plumber though. I mean,
I am.
That's what your other partners do some of the other stuff.
Mhm.
But how long have you been doing plumbing?
Actually, as of February this year, 22 years.
So it's not like this is something you've been doing all your adult life.
All my adult life.
Wow. Wow. Are there any other, we've covered a lot of ground and I think people are just grateful just to meet the mayor. I mean, a lot of you out there listening have never met the mayor and he's a great guy. He serves your community. You can always come out to a Board of Aldermen meeting and just see how this whole thing works. But in the meantime, I wanted you to hear from his heart. Any other final good things that are going on in Marionville you think our citizens should know?
You know, one of the things that I really want to remind people of is through I've lost the thought.
What were you going to talk about?
The blue box over here, and I'm trying to remember.
All right, so we're doing the garbage cleanup.
No, I'm sorry.
The food box.
Yeah, we've got a food box, and it's provided. And I apologize, I'm drawing a blank on the entity. They do weatherization. OCAC. OCAC had that paid for us at the Aurora High School in the shop class. Asked us if we had a place to set it up. We fielded a couple of ideas, and ultimately it ended up in the right next to the parking lot in City Hall. And it's just a community pantry, and the amount of traffic it's getting is, or it's the amount of traffic it's received has been immense. There's many days we come in there and it's absolutely cleaned out. And we've been fortunate enough to receive donations to where we've actually got a stockpile in the city hall that we bring back out in the morning when we get it.
So it's a place people though can drop off food and canned food, those kinds of things that won't spoil sitting outside. Right? That's a good word to put it. And people can come who need food.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just because we don't have another food pantry in town, right?
We do not.
So, I mean, it's a great thing. It looks like a little library box outside the city hall, but it's actually for food. And so if you know of somebody, one of your neighbors, maybe that's a little short on food, because we know that a lot of times we have more month than money.
Yeah.
And so it's a good thing to have some extra food. I just think there was something else. As long as we're getting this out today, we've been doing a citywide cleanup.
We have.
I watched them yesterday. They emptied 4 dumpsters full of stuff, and it's now stacked high from overnight people putting stuff on it. That's still going through today. Does it go through the weekend or just through today?
I believe just through today.
All right. So people can bring their stuff. There was a list of things you shouldn't bring,
which are piled on top of it from overnight.
Yeah. So, but you could bring your large things that need to get rid of, maybe the stuff sitting in your yard. And if you don't have anybody to help you get that, there's people running around with trailers all over town emptying their yards. Maybe you could just ask them, hey, could you pick this up and bring it for you? But there's right downtown next to between the city hall and the fire station. Why are we doing this?
Well, we do this every year.
Okay.
And it's just something that when we were doing our trash service years ago, we decided was a good idea because people often didn't have a way to get rid of bulk items. A couch, a love seat, a recliner.
No, you see them in the ditches as you're driving down 60.
You do, yeah, actually. And some of them sit there for quite some time.
Yeah, there's one on Old 60 that's been on there for, I don't know, like the whole time I've lived here.
Yeah,
4 years.
And the other thing is, if you see Chris Bowling running around on the excavator today, or the backhoe, that's actually one of the things he's doing, is picking up the items that just made it to the curb. When he sees them, he'll grab them and bring them down here with the backhoe.
Well, it's a great city. It's a great place to live, and we love having you as mayor. And I'm grateful that you ran again. And Mayor, will you come back and share some other stuff with us in the future?
Sure thing.
All right. We'll be right back with more on Good Place Marionville. But thank you, Mayor Dale Blankenship, for being here with us today. Hey, many thanks to Mayor Dale Blankenship for coming on the podcast today and just sharing a little bit from his heart. I hope you guys enjoyed getting to know the mayor. Many of you I know have never met him, and we're grateful for the work that he does here in Marionville. Just a reminder, this podcast is a great platform for you to highlight local business and show your support for the good happening in Marionville. Consider becoming a sponsor by contacting us at goodplacemarionville@hotmail.com. That's goodplacemarionville@hotmail.com. There are many sponsorship levels to choose from. We'd love to have you walk alongside us in this Good Place Marionville podcast project.
Now we need your help. It's going to take a small army of reporters to keep up with the stories of the good things that are happening here in Marionville. So let us know if you want to contribute on a regular basis or on the fly by emailing us at goodplacemarionville@hotmail.com or call 417-677-8167. That's the number on the side of our building at Central Place if you're ever looking for that number.
That's 417-677-8167. Thank you for joining us on the Good Place Marionville podcast. Keep your eyes out for the good happening right here in town, and together we can celebrate Marionville.